Welcome to the Kenobi Podcast, people. We are back in the Jedi Temple. We are back in our studio. We are back with the sacred artifacts and the holocrons. And today we are going to pop a holocron out, a new one, if you will. It's a new playlist that we're starting, and we're starting it for you. Obi, say hi to these people, man.
Hello there.
Back at you, Obi. Now, here's what we're going to do. We are starting a playlist called Revelation News. It's where news meets prophecy. That's right, where news meets prophecy. And why we're doing this? Because there's so much stuff out there. It frustrates me that every time something happens in our political arena, in our news, somebody's taking it and twisting it up. And then the next thing you know, you see something saying that something's going to be 666. Or you take a look and something's telling you that this person's Antichrist. Or you're taking it and then somebody's saying, oh, the rapture's going to happen next week. And it's frustrating. But I have to say, people, some of this is your fault. Because if you knew your Bible and you were bereaning yourself, when these jokers put that stuff out there, you wouldn't be giving them 100,000, 130,000 views or 80K views. They would be getting nothing. But because we want to help you get stronger in the Word of God, Kenobi and I decided to start this new playlist, Revelation News. And so tonight, we're going to take a current news cycle, a current event, something that's happening right now, that Christians are being told is big. It's real huge. It's big than this. It's bigger than huge. It's huger than big. So I'm going to break it down to you and we're going to give it to you straight. So what are we talking about today? Today we're going to talk about this. This is the war in Iran. And what is it? It's a war in Iran, okay? It's the war between Iran versus America, Mom and Apple Pie and our president, and Bibi Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, you'll know in a minute why I've got Lindsey Graham, who's currently at Disneyland right now. Your tax dollars to work. But I'm going to tell you why he's in there in a minute. But I want to address this war tonight because people are spinning this around to make it seem that it is actually aligning up with end times prophecy. We're going to debunk that, or we're going to address that. We're going to admit that. So let's keep going. So now we're going to talk about this war, okay? Let's talk about Iran first. Make no mistake about it. Iran is a terrorist regime. Iran's not an angel. Iran is not a situation where you're going to care about them. They're ruthless. They are terrorists. They hate America. They hate Israel. They say they want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And they tried to assassinate our president once as well, President Donald Trump. Now, the worst thing about Iran is, if that wasn't bad enough, they oppress and they brutalize their own people. Human rights violations all over the place. But let's talk about our relationships with Israel and with Iran. Okay, last year there was something that was called the 12-day war. What was the 12-day war? It was a war that was for 12 days. But for 12 days, Israel and United States teamed up because the premise was Iran was using their uranium, building it up to make a nuclear weapon. And if Iran had a nuclear weapon, dollars to donuts, that weapon is going to be aimed at Israel. So for 12 days, the United States bombed them with our bunker busters, our B-2s, hitting the bunker busters that drill all the way down in the ground and they explode. Now, our president and Bibi Netanyahu came back to all of us and they told us that this was successful. We were told, and you were told, and I was told, I don't care if you're a Magian or not, we were all told that it was completely obliterated. And Iran's ability to make a nuclear bomb was null and void. What we really came to find out was that Iran had already moved the uranium, so we really didn't do nothing to them. but it was a 12-day war that we were told it was successful. Now, let me ask you a question, people. Why do we get into a war? Nations go to war when nations feel that the other nation poses an imminent threat. Okay? If you're getting ready to bomb me, I'm going to bomb you first. If you're getting ready to cross my border, I'm going to cross your border first. So one would think, and this is me giving you the news. Remember, where news meets prophecy. One would think that Iran must have posed an imminent threat to Israel and an imminent threat to the United States of America for us to go to the lengths that we have to totally decimate Iran. Okay? Well, I've got news for you, and if you're a Trumper or not, maybe you won't believe me, but I hope that you will, because a lot of the MAGA Trump supporter podcasts out there are saying the same thing Kenobi and I are saying for once. There was no imminent threat. There was no imminent threat to the United States, and there was no imminent threat to the nation of Israel. This was a war that was wanted. It wasn't a war that had to happen. It was a war that was wanted. And I will also say to you that our president, while bombing and going to war with these people, did not get congressional approval. But that's a side point. The bottom line is the war was not, there was no imminent danger. Okay? Now, why did we start this war then? Because Israel wanted to war. Israel wanted to war. Okay? Now, let me tell you a little bit about this picture now. The reason I had the guy in the middle, Lindsey Graham, is because Lindsey Graham was visiting Israel multiple times, and Lindsey Graham was schooling Bibi Netanyahu on how to manipulate the president of the United States. Then Bibi Netanyahu came to the White House over 7 times in a span of a year, less than a year. And he kept whispering and whispering in our president's head, and he was telling him, hey, listen, you want to have a legacy? Here's something you can leave. People will know you as the wartime president, a president that went against Iran. Obama didn't do it. Bush didn't do it. Everybody was scared of Iran. But if you do it, this is going to be the thing that stands out in your legacy. And he bought it. Donald Trump took the Kool-Aid that Lindsey Graham mixed, handed the cup to Netanyahu, and he drank it. But there's another reason why Donald Trump drank the Kool-Aid. He needed a desperate distraction. Now, I don't know if you want to admit this or not, people. I don't know if you know it or not. But the Epstein files have not gone away. The Epstein files are not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, they're more prevalent now than ever after Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton already testified. With those testimonies, right immediate after that, it opened the door for people that really was involved with Jeffrey Epstein to come and testify, meaning Melania Trump, who many people say was allegedly involved with Jeffrey Epstein because Ghislaine Maxwell called her sweet pea in multiple emails. So he needed a distraction. Also, there are some serious alleged allegations against the president of the United States involving minors, minor girls. Okay, and they're accusing in these documents of some serious stuff that was investigated by the FBI. So he didn't want to hear this. He didn't need this. He needed a distraction. And you know what? There's no better distraction than going to find yourself a war when all of a sudden you think that if I start a war, people will gather around the president of the United States. And so that's why he did it, people. That's why he started this war, for those reasons. Now, here's the question, and this is what's in the news. What is the effect of this war? What has this war done to us? Well, let's talk about it. There's the economic impact that's worldwide, because Iran controls something called the Strait of Hormuz. That is that little a stretch of sea, okay, that controls most of 80% of the flow of oil and natural gas into other places all over the world. That's right on the borders of Iran, and that little valley of sea life they control, the Strait of Hormuz. And because of this war that was not imminent, and because in this war they have been bombed and decimated, they are blowing up ships. Any oil is not getting through. So as you may already know, the price of gas is up to $4 a gallon. And that's just not in America. That's worldwide. The markets, stock markets, future markets, gold is dropped. All affected. Okay? Also, the farmers have been affected in this. Why? Because most of the fertilizer that the farmers use in America comes from those countries. Therefore, there is no fertilizer. Farmers are going down again. If the tariff didn't take the farmers out, now the lack of fertilizer is definitely going to take them out. Okay? Now, there's also massive infrastructure damage in Iran. And I have to tell you this as well. I have to say this. Now, maybe you don't want to hear it, but we have committed war crimes, people. Now, maybe that doesn't matter to the average Trump supporter, but for any American, we have lost the moral high ground here. We can't jump on Ukraine. We can't jump on Russia anymore when we're turning around. When we're turning around and we're sitting here saying, what's happened? You are invading Ukraine, but now we're invading other countries. We can't say to Putin, you're messing around, okay? And you're blowing up hospitals in Ukraine. You're blowing up schools in Ukraine. You're committing war crimes in Ukraine. When we have also blown up a school in Iran, a girls' school, that took out 130 girls, young kids. So we have really lost the moral high ground across the globe, okay? Now, we're hitting civilian targets. I just talked about that, okay? And then there's also something else. What has also happened to America because of this war? Our strength, our positioning in the Middle East and in that region has been compromised. Why? Because bases, our U.S. bases on all these different places all over the Middle East have been destroyed. Oh yeah, you've got Army veterans right now. You got veterans right now that are sitting there and they're inside of hotels because the bases have been destroyed. So that is weakening our position in this region. Okay? And that's important. So the current war effort is this. We can't get no oil out. Prices are going sky high. The president's poll numbers are dropping. And because of this, the president has put a couple of weeks ago, he sent 2,500 troops over there to the region. He also sent the 82nd Airborne paratroopers over there. He just called up 10,000 more troopers to go in that region. Okay, so at some point, that's going to be a concern. We also have Russia that has now creeped in. Russia has now creeped in and is taking advantage because Russia is providing intelligence information to Iran to target our bases, to target our planes, to target our ships. Now, some may say that Russia doing that is an act of war. But we have done the same thing, giving Ukraine information, intelligence on Russian targets. The only difference is that Ukraine was defending itself. It was invaded by Russia. Okay, but Russia is now engaged. And also what you have is Iran has other allies, the Houthis. the Houthis, okay? They are now over there in Yemen on the other side, and they are blasting Israel with their drones and their ships and their missiles, okay? So you got the Houthis now involved. You got Russia on the side playing chess, okay? And you got the possibility now of not just having the Straits of Hormuz closed, and that's where your oil goes, but also the Houthis control the Red Sea. And so the premise is now is that if something isn't done quickly, the Houthis are going to shut down the Red Sea, and that means there's nothing getting through. The Red Sea's closed, the Straits are closed, we've got nothing. Long-term effects on this is obvious, people. The long-term effects are without excuse. I'll tell you what the long-term effects are. Number one, we have lost the moral high ground in America. We don't have the high ground anymore. We used to be able to say America could be trusted. America respects international law, but we don't. What's happening? This whole situation, if we didn't have a worse relationship with our allies in NATO, this is, I believe, brought NATO to the brink of being shut down or disbanded. Okay? The president started a war that had nothing to do with Article 5. And because it had nothing to do with Article 5, when America starts getting its tail whooped a little bit, he wants to call in NATO to also put some skin in the game to protect the Straits of Hormuz. And NATO is saying, hey, listen, this had nothing to do with Article 5. This was on you, Donald. And so he's attacked our allies openly, calling them cowards by name and so on and so forth. So the relationship with our allies is totally weakened, which only makes Putin stronger. Also, America has lost its moral base, its compass. We used to be the compass for the world, but we're not anymore under this administration. I'm sorry, people, whether you like it or not, or saying it's not, you're blowing up girls' schools and you're not taking accountability for it. You're doing the same thing that these terrorist nations do, okay? And that's okay. The other thing about this is really serious. We are low on munitions. How can you start a war, Donald? How could you start a war without any bullets? Well, we're running out of bullets, people, because what Iran is doing is using $10,000 Shahed drones, the little planes loaded up with ammunition, and they're being very effective. We're taking $1 million missiles to blow up a $10,000 plane, and we're running out of those missiles. Okay? And because of that, we have taken missiles and weapons and munitions from other places and other hot spots. We took missiles away from South Korea that was using the missiles for North Korea as a protection mode. Okay, our bases has been destroyed, and this has only made Russia more emboldened. I'll tell you the truth. Russia has come against Ukraine with a vengeance ever since this war started, and it is hitting the schools. It's hitting the kids. Don't forget, people, the Russians have taken the Ukrainian children, took them back to Russia, and they're indoctrinating these kids right now. So Russia's only getting emboldened. And also down the road, this sends a message to President Xi of China that, hey, if you want to go into and take Taiwan, then we're not going to stop you from taking Taiwan. And how can we tell Xi that he's wrong to take Taiwan when we're turning around and we're doing this? So that's the kind of stuff that we've done. And so there's also finally the long-term economic upheaval this is going to cost all over the world. Again, for a war that we didn't start, we didn't need, a war that there was no imminent threat. Okay? Now, what is the big deal going forward? Well, going forward, there's a possibility, people, that there's going to be boots on the ground. He's called in 12,500 troops, and he's called in the 82nd Airborne Division. He's talking about taking something called Kark Island, which is the island that really holds most of Iran's oil refineries, okay? He wants to take that island, but you know what? They've got 1 million troopers waiting for the 12,500 that he called up. So this is really weakening our military, if you know what I mean. Now, on the horizon also, Russia could become more directly involved than it is now. In the background, it's turning around and it's pushing our buttons. It's giving these guys intelligence data. It's now sending oil over to Cuba. Okay, for you guys that don't remember, it's something called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, so you got all of this stuff that's coming up. Now, this is where Revelation News comes into play. Okay, this is where Revelation News comes into play, because a lot of people, and I've seen it, you guys are giving these guys 80,000 views, 302,000 views. A lot of these, could you like and subscribe, by the way? I've been at this now for at least 20 minutes. I haven't asked you to do it. Can we like and subscribe to Revelation News? But a lot of these prophets, a lot of these teachers and preachers are sending out warning bells all over the internet and all over YouTube and Instagram, telling you that this whole situation is falling into end times prophecy. It's falling into end times prophecy because it is directly related. It's directly related to Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39. This is a big deal in prophecy. The war that's described in Ezekiel 38 and 39 is some serious wartime business. And in some ways, it is related to end times, but everybody's messing you guys up with this misinformation. So Revelation News, where news meets prophecy, we're going to clean it up. The question you want to ask, and the question you're asking me right now, is this whole thing that's happening between Israel, the United States, and Iran in accordance with Ezekiel chapters 38 and chapters 39. And that's really what we're looking at right here, okay? That's the forefront of Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. What is it? It's Russia invading Israel with the help of Turkey, Ethiopia, okay, and Afghanistan. That's what Ezekiel 38 and 39 is all about. Okay? So let's find out if that's what's happening right now. And for that, let's read, okay? Ezekiel 38 and 39. Yeah, people, we're going to read it. Where news meets prophecy, you can't meet it on its axis. You can't make sense out of it if you don't take the prophetic word of God and shine a light on the news. So let's shine the light. We're going to read Ezekiel 38 and 39, starting with 38. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Prophesy against them and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah far from the north with all its troops. The many nations with you. Okay, we're talking about Turkey. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about Ethiopia. We're talking about Afghanistan, and also maybe even Libya could be in this. All of these nations. Get ready. Be prepared, you and all the hordes gathered about you. And take command of them. And after many days, you will be called to arms. In the future years, you will invade a land that has recovered from war. whose people were gathered from many nations to the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. And they had been brought out of the nations, and now all of them live in safety. And you and all your troops in the many nations with you will go up, advancing like a storm, and you will be like a cloud covering the land. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On that day, thoughts will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme, and you will say, Putin will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living without walls and without gates and bars. I will plunder and loot and turn my hand against the resettled ruins and the people gathered from the nations rich in livestock goods living at the center of the land. Okay, let us keep reading, okay, because it's serious business. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all her villages will say to you, have you come to plunder? Have you gathered your hoards to loot, to carry off silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, and to seize much plunder? Now you may say, why are we reading all this? Because the jokers that are getting the 30,000 and 280,000 views give you a little small bit of the word of God and telling you it's prophetic business. It's not. We have to take it all. True prophecy will take the full context of the prophetic word and we will compare it against that. Okay? So now let's keep on going. Okay? Let's keep on going. Okay? And it says here, therefore, son of man, prophesy and say to Gog, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In that day, when my people Israel are living in safety, will you not take notice of it? Will you not take notice of it? That's some serious business. Check out what he's saying here. He's saying when my people, okay, there we go. When my people, you will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. In days to come, Gog, I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know when I am proved holy through you before their eyes. And this is what the sovereign Lord says. You are the one I spoke of in former days by my servants, the prophets of Israel. And at that time, they prophesied for years that I would bring you against them. This is what will happen in that day when Gog attacks the land of Israel. My hot anger will be aroused, declares the Lord. In my zeal and fiery wrath, I will declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. The fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the beast of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. The mountains will be overturned, the cliffs will crumble, and every wall will fall to the ground. And I will summon a sword against Gog on my mountains, declares the sovereign Lord. Every man's sword will be against his brother. Verse 22, wrapping up chapter 38. I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstorms, and burning sulfur on him and on his troops and on the many nations with him. And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. And then they will know that I am the Lord. And that's the end of 38. But we're going to keep on going because this entire prophecy that they're telling you, this war in Iran and Israel and U.S. is all related to those two chapters. Where news meets prophecy, it's got to be the word. Okay, now we're going to jump quickly into chapter 39. Let's keep going. Read with me now. Son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Gog, Putin, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn you around and drag you along. I will bring you from the far north and send you against the mountains of Israel. And then I will strike your bow from your left hand and make your arrows drop from your right hand. And on the mountains of Israel you will fall, Putin. You and all your troops and the nations with you. I will give you as food to all kind of carrion birds and to the wild animals. You will fall in the open field, for I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. I will send fire on Magog and on those who live in safety in the coastlands. Now, that's a very important thing to remember. Those who live in safety in the coastlands, that's important. And it says, and they will know that I am the Lord, and I will make known my holy name among the people Israel. And I will no longer let my holy name be profaned, and the nations will know that I am the Lord, am the Holy One of Israel. It is coming. It will surely take place, declares the sovereign Lord. This is the day that I have spoken of it. Okay, let's keep going, people, because it's serious God business. Then those who live in the towns of Israel will go out and use the weapons for fuel and burn them up. The small and large shields, the bows and arrows, the war clubs and spears. For 7 years they will use them for fuel. And they will not need to gather wood from the fields or cut it from the forest, because they will use the weapons for fuel. And they will plunder those who plundered them and loot those who looted them, declares the sovereign Lord. On that day I will give Gog a burial place in Israel, in the valley of those who travel east of the sea. It will block the way of travelers, because Gog and all its hordes will be buried there. So it will be called the valley of Hamon Gog. For 7 months, the Israelites will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. All the people of the land will bury them, and the day I display my glory will be a memorable day for them, declares the sovereign Lord. People will be continually employed in the cleansing of the land. Remember these words, it's important. They will spread out across the land and across the others, and they will bury any bodies that are lying on the ground. But after 7 months, they will carry out a more detailed search. And as they go through the land, anyone who sees a human bone will leave a marker beside it until the grave diggers bury it in the valley of Hamon Gog, near a town called Humana, and so they will cleanse the land. Okay, and let's keep going, because it's serious God business. We're not going to stop. It's where news meets prophecy. You can't just take a 2-line word of prophecy that's encapsulated in 2 chapters and let people sucker you to tell you that this is end times business. No, at the Kenobi website, we give you action, we give you receipts, we give you truth. Verse 17. Verse 17. Okay. All righty. All right. Okay. Let's keep going, people. Okay. Son of man, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Call out to every kind of bird and all the wild animals. Assemble and come together from all around to the sacrifice I'm preparing for you. The great sacrifice on the mountain of Israel. There you will eat flesh and drink blood, and you will eat the flesh of mighty men and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, as if they were rams and lambs and goats and bulls, all of them fattened animals from Bashan. At the sacrifice I'm preparing for you, you will eat fat till you are glutted, drink blood till you are drunk, and at my table you will eat your fill of horses and riders, mighty men and soldiers of every kind, declares the sovereign Lord. I will declare my glory amongst the nations, and all the nations will see the punishment I inflict and the hand I lay on them. From that day forward, the people of Israel will know that I am the Lord their God, and the nations will know that the people of Israel went into exile for their sin, because they were unfaithful to me. So I hid my face from them and handed them over to their enemies, and they all fell by the sword, and I dealt with them according to the uncleanness of their offenses, and I hid my face from them. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will restore the fortunes of Jacob and will have compassion on the people of Israel. I will be zealous for my holy name, and they will forget their shame and all the unfaithfulness they showed towards me when they lived in safety in their land with no one to make them afraid. Finally, let's keep going. We're wrapping this up right now. Okay, we're coming around the bend. When I have brought them back from the nations and gathered them from the countries of their enemies, I will be proved holy through them in the sight of many nations. And then they will know that I am the Lord their God. For though I sent them into exile amongst the nations, I will gather them to their own land, not leaving any behind. I will no longer hide my face from them, for I will pour out my spirit on the people of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. Okay, so that's what people are telling you. Okay, people are telling you, okay, that what's happening right now in Iran, what's happening on the sidelines with Russia, what's happening right now in the U.S. involvement in this is all related to those two chapters. Now, that's what they're telling you. They're telling you somehow that this has something to do with the rapture of the church. That's what they're telling you. And you're giving them 300,000 views for that, but you won't like and subscribe. That's not cool, people. That's not cool. Like and subscribe. We give it to you straight. But so now we're going to take a look at these distinctives. And we're going to make sense out of it so you have clarity. Okay? Because I don't want you being tossed to any wind of doctrine to and fro. So the question is, here's our distinctives. Okay? Here's our Israel distinctives. Okay? We have to get into it. All right? Here's the distinctives that we have to take news, meet it up with prophecy. The distinctive is this: Israel has recovered from a war. And they're living in peace and their safety. They're living in unwalled villages without gates and bars. They're being invaded for their resources. Now, to list some of the resources that they got the Dead Sea minerals. We all love that. They got the natural gas, they got oil shale, and they got mining and minerals, and they got diamonds. This is a boots on the ground invasion. This is not Russia sending a couple missiles over there. Russia, Turkey, Ethiopia, maybe Libya, okay? They all invade. They all actually invade Israel with boots on the ground. Okay? And Afghanistan as well. Now, just so you know, Russia's no friend of Israel. Turkey is actually a friend, used to be a close friend of the U.S., but Donald Trump turned Turkey against us, so now Turkey is going back to China and to Russia. That's not me. Look it up. Even your Trumpers are saying that. Okay, and now Afghanistan, Ethiopia are also silent. They take no position on this, but they have been against the genocide that Israel has been done in Gaza. Okay? Now, this is going to be a nuclear war. It's about raining down fire. Okay? But also, look at the clues that we have about the nuclear war. Now, we know that Russia got nuclear weapons, right? But do you also know that Turkey, who's not technically an ally of the United States, is housing several hundred of nuclear weapons for us? And they got the launch codes. Donald, I don't know. I'm not going to. Okay, so now, then we have that, okay? And then after that, more distinctives, I'm almost wrapping this up. God intervenes and totally decimates these nations with an earthquake. Putin, his forces, they blowing the bombs, nuclear, we got tsunamis, all the stuff happening. Earthquake comes, totally knocks them out. God will also cause the invaders to turn on themselves in the confusion. We got that. He also brings plagues against the people of Russia. Okay? So while he's dealing with the invasion, he's going back over there and getting back at these nations. Okay? Hailstorms and burning sulfur on all the nations involved. So God's not just dealing with the invasion. He's going back and attacking the nations that did the invasion. Okay? To clean up the mess. To clean up the filth of the war, God uses carrier birds and animals to feast on the bodies. It takes Israel 7 months to bury the body, to clean up the bodies, and it will use the weapons. This is why you know it's nuclear too, because they're going to use the nuclear weapons for fuel. And the fuel, okay, will last them for 7 years. Okay? They're going to employ people just to isolate where these radioactive bodies are. And after 7 months, they still are going to send out their EPA team. And if someone finds some bones or a dead body that's radioactive, all they're supposed to do is put a flag on it, put a marker in it, and let the EPA people come and dispose of the bones in the body. That's why you know it's nuclear. We're talking radiation. We're talking poisoning. We're talking radiation clouds flowing all over the place. This is a serious business war. But here's the question. Does any of that and all of these distinctives, does any of those distinctives have anything to do with what's going on right now between Iran, the U.S., and Russia? My answer to you people is no. Why? Because right now Israel's not safe. That prophecy is activated when Israel is not only safe, but they have come through a war. Okay? They're involved in so many skirmishes right. They're fighting the Houthis. They're fighting the Palestinians. They're fighting everybody. So Israel's not safe. Israel's not in unwalled villages. Israel's not in a place with no bars or no gates. So this what's going on in the news doesn't meet prophecy at all. Okay? Okay? Turkey and Iran are not in. Turkey and an Iranian ally, they're not involved. They don't like Israel, but they're not involved. Ethiopia and Afghanistan don't like Israel, not involved. Russia is silently involved, targeting data. But again, if you ask Putin why he's doing it, he'll say because Biden gave all the targeting data on our stuff to Ukraine. Okay? So that doesn't by any means mean that Putin is coming over there to invade and shoot nuclears over there. And by the way, Israel have nuclear weapons too. That's another reason why this is going to be a full-on nuclear affair. Now keep that in mind. But again, news doesn't meet prophecy here just because of the first part. Israel's not in safety. Israel's not at peace. Israel is not unwalled. Okay? So no, it doesn't line up. It doesn't line up. The next question that you're going to ask yourself here, is this. Is this rapture related? Okay? Is this rapture related? And that's a very good question to ask you if it's rapture related. Let's find out. And this is important for you to know. I'm just putting it up to the screen, and those are my distinctives. You can go back to this, but I really want you to understand what's happening about the rapture, because people are so confused about the rapture. Okay? This event does not meet the test. This event has nothing to do with the rapture of the church. What's going on in Iran and the United States and Israel, with Russia's little involvement, has nothing to do with the rapture. But also, Ezekiel 38 and 39 itself has nothing to do with the rapture of the church. That is so outside of what the rapture is all about. Okay, now let me explain some more to you. Okay, this is more related. What's happening here is more related to the rise of the Antichrist, Ezekiel 38 and 39. Because when it happens, again, when this prophecy flows, where news will finally one day meet prophecy, Israel will be at peace. Okay, Russia and all these countries will invade, and they will be pushed back from God. In the meantime, them being pushed back, the Antichrist will arise, okay? And he will then institute a worldwide treaty against any nation attacking Israel for 7 years. That's what we call the 7-year tribulation, but it's better known and biblically known as the 70th week of Daniel, is biblically known as the time of Jacob's trouble that has nothing to do with me and has everything to do with the Jews. When people tell you that that we're going to have to go through the tribulation, then you have to take them back to the book of Daniel and have them explain to you how come this quote unquote tribulation period, okay, that is really the 70th week of Daniel, has everything to do with the Jews. And that's what Gabriel tells Daniel. That's what God proclaims. It has nothing to do with me. Jeremiah said it. It was the time of Jacob trouble. I'm not Jacob. I'm Kenobi. So no, I don't have to go to no rapture because this has nothing to do with me and I'm saved. Now, let's keep going. But this is alluding, those 2 chapters are alluding to the rise of the Antichrist. Okay? So now keep in mind, where the rapture is concerned, Ezekiel 38 and 39 poises and positions the Antichrist to rise. But when the Antichrist rises, we will already be out of here. The rapture will take place before the Antichrist is made known. Before he is made known, we are already gone. 2 Thessalonians 2:3 says, do not let anyone deceive you in any way. You guys, they're giving these guys 308,000 views and you like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way. This is important. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, okay? Don't let him deceive you in any way. For that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. Okay, so by the time the Antichrist is made known to the world, he rises from this. Paul is saying, don't worry about it because you guys won't even be here. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the rapture. This has nothing to do with end times prophecy whatsoever, except if on the far side of the spectrum, if this ever happens, we should be out of here. Now let me just give it to you right now. Let me just give you straight right now. Okay. Also, keep in mind that the Israelites will be using the fuel for 7 years. Okay. So that means also that this may be right before the 70th week of Daniel, because they only have the access to Israel for the first half of that, the first 3.5 years. The second 3.5 years, Antichrist is endowed by Satan and the Jews are on the run because of the abomination of desolation in the temple. Matthew 24, Jesus tells them to get the heck out of Dodge. So if they're going to be burning these nuclear waste products for heat, it has to be on the first side of the tribulation, which means it has to happen for at least 4 or 5 years before the covenant is signed by Antichrist. And I'll say that because there's only one cycle in the 70th week of Daniel where anyone is going to need fuel, and that's in the first half, in the book of Revelation, chapter 8, where the 7 trumpet judgments are coming. The 4th angel sounded, the 4th trumpet, sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, so that the third of them turned dark, and a third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night. So this is the only time. That's in the first half of the tribulation period. That's the only time they're going to need some heat, because you lost a third of the sun, you lost a third of your heat. It's going to be some freezing business. So that, to me, provincially, God is preparing them that even though he's getting ready to bring down the hammer on them for that whole 7 years, he's making sure that there is going to be an elect that gets through this by making sure those weapons are nuclear to be used for fuel when that fourth trumpet judgment hits. Now, let me just give it to you like this, because this is serious business. This is serious business because people don't want to hear it, but it's serious business. Let me tell you something about the rapture, okay? The rapture is not predicated with an event, okay? It is not predicated with an event. There is no prophetic event that needs to happen for the rapture to take place right now. The rapture can happen like this. The rapture is predicated on souls. The rapture is predicated on souls, people. On souls. You have the handout part of this, but the point of the issue is this. The rapture is predicated on something called the fullness of the Gentiles, okay? The fullness of the Gentiles. And that's in Romans 11:25. Paul says it like this: I would not, brothers, that you be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. Now, what blindness are we talking about? Jesus himself put corporate blindness on the Jews for their rejection. And you can find that in Luke chapter 19, 41-42. And when he had come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. This is after the triumphal entry, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this day, the things which belong unto your peace, but now they are hid from your eyes. In other words, if you missed me, if you just known that I'd be here on this day, the day of your visitation, but now the reality and the truth of who I am, your Messiah, will be blinded from your eyes. Jesus pronounced corporate blindness over the Jews, that they will not recognize him because they have to now go through that 70th week of Daniel. They've got to go through the pain, because the pain will push them against a wall. The rapture happens and the blindness is removed. Okay, how do I know this? What triggers the rapture? I said souls. The fullness of the Gentiles is this: every time a soul gets saved, that person is added to the Lamb's book of life. Okay? Now, there is a number. Somebody up there is keeping score in that book. That book has only so many pages for the church. If you get saved right now, you are moved into the Lamb's book of life. You're considered the bride of Christ. You're considered the church. So at some point, the pages will run out. The last soul will get saved. And then the Father will say, now we have reached the fullness of the Gentiles. Then the Father says to his Son, go get your bridegroom, and then you have your rapture. At the point that the bridegroom leaves to get the bride and we are elevated out and raptured, the blindness comes off. They realize what happened, but they're still not ready to call them back. They still have to go through that 7 years. And they still have to do something that is in Hosea chapters 5:15. Jesus says it like this: I will go to my place until they, the Jews, acknowledge their offense, singular and pacific, and seek my face. In their affliction, they will earnestly seek me. So the bottom line is, the blindness comes off, but the hardness and the stubbornness will not. They refuse to admit for 2,000 years they've been wrong, until the Antichrist backs them against the wall. In the second half, the great tribulation, he backs them against the wall. And that's when they cry out for him to come back. Okay, so the rapture is not predicated on Ezekiel 38 and 39 or any other event. Don't let anybody tell you that something has to happen unless it says the fullness of the Gentiles is the only thing that needs to happen before the rapture happens, or else they're making a fool out of you. So where do you go from here? I've just given you the first Revelation news. News met prophecy, and the news did not pass the test. It's not Ezekiel 38 and 39, but there is something you need to know. Are you in that number? Are you already considered to be part of the fullness of the Gentiles? Is your name written in the Lamb's book of life right now? If the rapture happened right now, and it could, is your name in that Lamb's book of life? That's some serious business, and I hope it is. Oh, let me ask you this way. Your name is in the book. You're part of the fullness. Is your mother part of the fullness? Is your father or your sister, your brother or your auntie, are they part of the fullness? Your close friends, are they part of the fullness? You better get them in that book before that book fills up. You better get them in that book to add their name to those pages before somebody else jumps ahead of you and get another soul in there. And then they're going to have to go through this 7 years. And you don't know how that's going to shake out. But what I do know is, how are you going to feel up there nice and safe, part of the fullness, when you're looking now over the prefaces by the mezzanine and you see mommy and Susie and auntie going through something that you could have averted? You need to add them to that number, and it's really simple. All you got to do is admit you're a sinner. Lord, I sinned. I'm a sinner saved by grace. I am a sinner. All you got to do is believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that he came to be appropriation for your sins, that he lived, came of a virgin, lived a sinless life, died on the cross, was resurrected, and ascended for you. And all you have to do is confess. Confess and ask him to come into your life, come into your heart, to be Lord of your life. And all of those ABCs I just gave you, admit, believe, and confess, it all sums up in 3 words. Peter did all ABC from his heart and soul when he was drowning in a river that he had just walked on water. He said 3 words that sums up the ABCs from your heart and soul. Lord, save me. That's all you got to do. You're included in the fullness. Talk to someone. Tell them about Christ. Get them included in the fullness. Now, where do you go from here? Know your Bible, people. If you're a Christian saved by grace, it's a shame for you that you don't understand the Word of God. But if you need help with that, Kenobi and I ask you to come and join Upside Us. We've got tons of resources and tools here that we are already placed on our platform, and more are to come that's going to help you with your walk with God. That's going to help you in your revelation and understanding of the chosen one. And we already took the book of Revelation, all 22 chapters. It's on a playlist already called The Revelation of the Chosen One. Take a look at it. See what you can get. And that's what you need to do. So I want to thank you for joining us for our first Revelation News. We hope to see you again, where news meets prophecy.